No,
Hey,
but
so
you,
speaking of sports there, Clay,
let
what
me,
what do you think about your son when he comes home and says, "Hey, Dad, I want to play football"?
Uh, I'm gonna say, here are your options. You can be a quarterback, a kicker, or a long snapper.
There you go.
Yeah, I think. I mean, if they want to play football, that's definitely. I don't know. I played football when I was a kid,
Hmm?
in high school. I didn't play. What do they call it?
Little
Um,
league or I mean, pee wee football or
Pee wee
whatever.
football. I never played pee wee football, and honestly, that question that would be really tough for me without doing any research. I know we've talked about this a little bit before, and I think now that I have a kid, my views are a lot more like cautious and cautiously optimistic. I would have to do some research, see what they do as an organization in
Hmm.
terms of helping kids tackle correctly. Actually, if I remember correctly, they don't tackle in Pee Wee. Maybe they do.
They
They
do.
do.
Because I
Okay.
mean, well, Rocco and I, we actually played football together. I started in third grade,
But this
actually.
is this is years ago now. I don't know if they do tackling anymore.
I'm not quite sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure I've seen like videos of friends posting their kids' football games and stuff. I
Okay,
mean,
there's
I
three.
mean, it might be going away from that. It's more flag football, but um, like, and kids with sports, I think it's like my parents. They said, look, you're gonna do a sport. You can pick the sport, but you're gonna do a sport.
Yeah.
Be- because and I think it was really good, and I've touched on this before. It really brought like a base to me. Showed me values of, listening to people and being a team player. I think it really like it brought it all around of, hey, try to work through a certain goal with a group of people, having someone that's in charge and listening to them. It really kind of builds that base. Now, go ahead, if you're gonna say something
I
there,
was just
Clay.
gonna
Sorry.
say that I'm compartmentalizing this topic into like three I think distinct things, and it's that I personally think I would want to talk about, which is, you know, sports and their safety.
Right.
Um, the idea that the idea that sports really help a child's development, and then how many sports.
okay.
I'm
Oh
curious
yeah.
about that. So go ahead, Ian.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was I was hoping you might
Yeah.
maybe hit on those.
Yeah, well, and I chose football. I played baseball one time, and it's really funny. My dad still cracks up about it. I played little league baseball,
You got hit by
and
the ball, didn't you?
yeah, I got hit. I got hit in my. The thing was, is that if you look at my mom took the track of hits and everything like that. I was hitting the ball, I was doing everything, and then boom, I got hit in my shoulder blade,
Oof.
and it's like the first year they actually do pitching instead of like on the
Off the
T
tee
ball.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so after that, I was struck out or I walked every time.
Dude,
Yeah,
the
and
same shit happened to me when I was a kid, dude.
yeah,
I was
and
like,
the funny thing
baseball's
was,
awesome. Bam! I'm done with baseball.
yeah, and when I got hit, it hurt a lot. I remember, and I went up to my dad. He was on the bench, and I was crying, and I was like, "Dad, I don't want to play baseball anymore." And he's like, "Okay." So, and then later on, we started talking a little bit further. I said, "You know what? There's just too much contact in baseball." I said, "I want to play football," and he
No, you
goes,
did not say that.
"Yeah," and he just looks at me like, "You fucking idiot!" That I he said, "Dumbass."
That's
But they
good.
signed me up for football, and I loved it ever since.
Yeah.
So,
So,
My regret is I wish I followed football more when I was a kid.
uh-huh.
It's actually interesting. I don't think I've ever told
why is that a
anybody
regret, though? What makes you
because
feel like it's a regret?
when I started playing football, I started late. I wanted to start earlier. I wish I
Gotcha.
was more into football as a kid. And
Yeah.
the fact of the matter is, I just wasn't. But I think one thing that I don't think I've ever told my dad or I've told anybody, but like I remember actually having an opportunity to get into football. And because my dad was watching a Cowboys game, he was a Cowboys fan at the time, and I remember them like screwing up, and like I wanted I'm like 5 years old. I wanted so desperately to be a fan and like be a part of this experience that like I was like no like and I slammed my hands on the table like we fumbled, and my dad he was like, oh, what the hell's wrong with you? He got all mad at me, and I was like, ugh. So like so I ran away, and and that was it. Like I never even tried to be a fan of
Done with
football again.
football.
So it was weird. I mean, I don't blame him for that, but I think that experience that like me trying to be into football and then it just like falling apart because I was just like too aggressive that I rejected it for so long. But I wish I could have actually been like, I wish I could have appreciated it because I wanted to play it early on. Because when I played it later on, I didn't know anything about it.
What
I was
age
really
was
terrible.
it later on? What is later on?
High school, freshman year. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
I was like, I couldn't even really catch a ball. I didn't really know anything about routes or like, dude. I remember being called upon a play. This is how clueless I was freshman year.
Yeah.
They called me on a special teams play to stop them from running the ball into the end zone, and I was on the line, and I was like, "What am I doing?" And they're like, he's like, "Stop him from running into the end zone." I was like, "Okay." You know what I mean?
Okay.
Just
What am I doing, guys?
Yeah, I
What am I
was
supposed to
like,
do here?
"What's wrong? Like, what are we doing?"
Well, I'm
Yeah,
glad
it's-
we're on this topic though, because I'm actually going through a situation right now currently with my little guy. He's 4.5 years old, and me and my wife haven't influenced my child in any way about what he's going to be when he wants to grow up. We just let him come up with the ideas. We just kind of like, nurture that, whatever that is. And earlier on, he was saying, paleontologist, because he learned what a paleontologist was when we were reading a book. So
That's
paleontologist, the
dinosaur
person,
bones, right?
yeah, dinosaur bones, yada yada yada. He goes, I want to be a paleontologist when I grow up. I'm like,
that's
oh,
awesome.
cool, all right, that's sweet, that's cool, just because he's got an obsession with dinosaurs, like most of us did when we were probably boys, too, young boys. But then eventually he started saying, I want to be a scientist. We were like, a paleontologist is a scientist, you know what I mean, in their own little way. But right, so it's like cool, And then he comes home one day from a grandparent's house, and he's like, I want to be a football player when I grow up. And I'm like, well, hold on, okay, because first off, we don't watch any football at my house. Not that I'm like, against football. We just don't have. I used my time doing other things nowadays, to be honest. Like the family environment takes a lot of time. I've lost my passion when it comes to watching the games. I prefer to play if I could before watching.
Yeah.
But it's not on in our house, so it's not like he's introduced by anywhere else besides this grandparent's house. And this grandparent is a super fanatic kind of thing.
Can I ask who that grandparent is?
I know you know who that is. So this individual has had to have obviously had some type of major influence over my son, and this with something going on where my son's going to come home and be like, hey, I want to be a football player when I grow up. And knowing my son right now, at least where he's at right now in his life, he would hate football. He would not want to be in a contact sport whatsoever where he's getting hit by somebody. And in fact, I was the same kind of individual when I first started football too. I was the guy that wanted all these super, pads, all these different things you had to get. Where's my back pad? Where's my neck pad? Where's my this pad?
Yeah.
I wanted it all because I was like, I really don't like this. And after my first year, I was kind of like midway through my first year, I was saying, I don't really want to play this anymore. I don't really like it. And it took me like 3-4 years before I started actually really genuinely enjoying playing the sport of football.
Right.
Right.
Now, it did take this, who is a grandparent now, individual to keep me going and going and going and going because they're obviously so obsessed with this sport. But one thing that's frustrating me is, like I said, me and my wife, who are the parents of this child, are not influencing him in any way or direction of what he wants to be when he gets older. I dislike that the grandparent was doing that, especially when it comes to a sport, especially like football, because we're talking about safety for real quick. This is the topic I'm going to. Okay, because when I played football for 13 years of my life. I have knee issues, and I will say that I feel like they came from playing football because of either receiving the ball out in the open field or carrying the ball as a running back. You get hit in the knees all the time with helmets, pads, anything. You get hit even above, and you're taking weird falls, and your knees are taking a lot of the impact. I've torn my ACL twice now. Like, it's not just I think hypochondriac, I got bad knees. No, I have bad knees to the point where things are ripping because they've had too much injury, and I can feel them whenever I do any type of weightlifting or any type of running or anything that's on cement. I can feel my knees starting to have major issues. Not even my bad knee with the ACL injuries twice. My other knee, which I would consider my good knee, still feeling that pain. But I feel like it was derived from early childhood sports. High impact.
Right. That's important.
Okay, because like I was playing soccer before I got into football. In soccer, I mean, there's injuries here and there, but nothing where it was. And there's gonna be like, okay, broken ankles, different things going on, stuff like that can happen. But it's not where it's like every play that happens and occurs, there's major impact happening. That could be like maybe once every 3 games you actually get laid out by somebody, in a situation. You know what I mean? Not every. Huh?
Do you think they? Ian and I were talking about this. Do you think they've changed the way that Pop Warner That's it, Ian. Pop
That's
Warner
it.
football.
There you go.
Oh yeah,
Has
PPA.
changed. Like, are they still tackling as much? Like, I know that there's been a huge.
It's just I don't think it really matters, man. You can say, okay, don't tackle this way, don't tackle that way. You're still getting tackled at the end of the day. We're talking about that impact that your body's receiving, and I don't know.
That's
like,
what I was leaning towards with Ian too. Like, when you're that young and you're still growing.
Yes, that's a
you're
major
more
thing.
You're more susceptible to some issues. So like.
Think about 1 second, though. So think about two people bent over, and you're going to make contact with one another, and you're young, right? So you're getting ready to go hit each other, and now you do this for 13 years, like I said. You know, I've been playing for 13 years, and think about the injuries that can occur to your spinal cord. You know what I mean? Like boom, 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 and you're doing this like all throughout practices, which are 3 to 4 days a week. Then you're going and doing it in a game, and you're doing it for 13 years straight. And you're talking about over and over and over and over, and you're hitting in the shoulder. And I have shoulder issues now. I go to do my chest press, and it's like, where did that even occur? I'm not a pitcher. You know, and I haven't done any of that different stuff or a tennis player where it's like nonstop, the shoulder action's going on. I'm like, where could that have occurred? Well, maybe from tackling constantly with the shoulders, you know what I mean? And just, you talk about a million repetitions, you're probably going to have some type of injury, especially when it's in your growth, stage.
Okay. And if you think about it, Rock, I was a fullback and an outside linebacker, most of the time. So I have a really bad right shoulder now.
Yep.
I can actually just grab the end of a table and pop my shoulder out and then pop it back in. I know
it's like click.
So
click.
real quick on this topic, the new rules for Pop Warner are as follows. No full speed head-on blocking or tackling drills in which the player lines up more than 3 yards apart are permitted. Having two linemen in stances immediately across the line of scrimmage from each other and having full speed drills where the players approach each other at an angle, but not straight ahead into each other are both permitted. However,
like the Oklahoma's kind of situation.
I guess, yeah. So like
those sucked.
Right. Oh my god, dude, they're the worst. The amount of contact at each practice will be reduced by a maximum of a third of the practice time, either 40 minutes total of each or a third of the total weekly practice time. In this context, contact means any drill or scrimmage in which down the line versus down the line full speed drills and scrimmages. In addition to the above, we would also like to reiterate the technique portion of Rule 14 of the Pop Warner National Rulebook, 11-man tackle football regarding teaching safety blocking and tackling techniques, which states blocking so it's just and then furthermore
they change up the way the practice is kind of ran, saying you can't do like these major
significant less
Do you? I mean, the thing is, do you really think a lot of? I mean, there's probably people that do follow that, but there's going to be a lot of places that are like, they don't even care.
I don't know. I tell you what. How many times have you seen a parent at a practice?
Yeah, that's true. My mom was at every practice actually.
But you gotta, but
there's gotta be parents that are
gotta
be
live here in the
that.
South. I've coached kids in middle school. So for 3 years,
by the way.
Yeah, Ian, you are blurry. For 3 years, I coached kids in middle school. And I guess what you would call PAL, middle school, whatever it'd be. Actually, it's not PAL. It's like.
I actually like that because I thought coaching football would be fun.
Yeah,
I liked it. I liked it, but I also saw a lot of what I felt like I personally went through as a child too, where I was saying that you're just kind of being forced to do it by another parent figure. You know what I mean? I saw a lot of individuals out there that are being forced to do it, like, oh, you got to toughen up, you got to be this. Like, it just might not be the kid's personality. They might not just be about this. They might have different strengths, and you're right now you're trying to like. Exploit them on their weakness. Like I think we just need to, there's, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, my stand is that I think that a sport like something so high, with so much contact and stuff like that, with something like football, I think should be really, really thought out before the individual goes into doing like a huge amount of time invested into it, because there is a lot of injuries that come out from it. And there's even a lot of documentaries that are coming out right now talking about the concussions, that the real damage that comes from concussions. Yeah, and they're talking about that from even boxing and MMA stuff, like the major effects of what happens from these concussions and stuff that occurs on a regular basis from sports like football.
Well, you know what's pretty interesting about that is that I played football, of course, you and I did, for a long time, and then as an adult getting into like almost a martial art, being in jiu-jitsu, I almost prefer to have my child learn that than go to play football. And I love football. I mean, I still enjoy it. But,
I think I would too, honestly. Like, I think I'd prefer that. Like, if he's going to learn something physical, something like that. I mean, I feel like there's a lot. I don't know. I think I would prefer that too, to be truthful.
I mean, and not only are you physically active, and I think that's one of the big things as a child. I mean, a lot of kids, my nephew, I love my nephews and nieces to death, but my nephew Michael, I mean, he just plays video games all day, you know.
Yeah,
And I mean, I love video
yeah,
games, as we all know,
yeah,
we all
exactly.
do. But my parents still said, "Hey, you have to go do this," and I almost looked at like football as when I was younger as like a job. Like that's
Yeah.
my job. I have to go do that.
Well,
Uh,
see, here's the different take that I'm taking out, being a parent right now is that it's like, yeah, we do want to have him being able to do something physical and get out there and to explore
mhm.
himself because he won't know if we don't get him out there. You know what I mean?
Plus, you get friends. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, you meet a lot of people, and you get that camaraderie, I guess.
Yeah, exact. That's true. So what we did is we asked him, what is it you want to do? Like
Yeah,
what is it you want to play? We'll show you the different stuff. And his choice right now is soccer. So it's like, okay, cool, we'll do some soccer and stuff like that. When it comes to football, yeah, the choice could be there, but the choice right now for us as parents is not going to be there for him. Just because we're like, we're going to take some time for you to grow a little bit first, for you to get to some different mental states. If you feel like you still want to get there and you want to try it out, then we'll let you try it out, and get out there and explore it. Now, will we make you and force you to go through an entire year? No. But what we'll do first is we don't like to raise quitters by any means. We'll
right.
probably incorporate you in some type of like camp first, where you get to just do like a short period of time of hitting each other and doing these different things. And if you don't enjoy it at that point, you probably shouldn't do an entire year of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we
That's
won't
a good
start you
idea.
up in it. But, you know, one thing I had read before, and it's like I wish I had the article in front of me because it made some really valid points, and I'm not going to do it justice by just saying it right now, but it was talking about changing one C to another C, which was changing competition to cooperation, and that
Okay.
sports right now ingrain in us a competition and a more of a separation, like at a like deep level, like when we get to be older, about you're different than I'm different, and like and I got to do better than you kind of thing, instead of a
Right.
working as a team so much. And I'm like,
Well,
there's some team building stuff in there, I feel,
hmm
but I also do see some of that competition side too. Like, and I said, I'm not going to do it justice right now. I wish I had the article in front of me because it made some really valid points, but um, I could see
now
where they're,
that's a great idea, Rock. And I really like it. And I understand, being cooperation and everything instead of like, a competition. The only thing is that I don't like is that a lot of places and these sports are kind of giving everyone participation
oh no,
rewards.
okay, yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
not referring to that. What I'm referring to is
Okay.
that mindset of like, I'm gonna get happiness by beating you. You know what I mean? Like that
Oh, okay.
competition side. By my happiness is only achieved by putting you underneath me. You know what I mean? Like it's like
Yeah.
this. It's an underlying thing though, where it's not like a,
hmm
hey, we're just playing the sport to enjoy the sport all together. We're having a good time. Yeah, we won, but it's okay too. You know what I mean? Like nothing.
Right.
Like it's not. It's like I said, I'm not doing it justice. I wish I had it in front of me because it was a really good article. And when I read it, I was like, damn, you know what? This makes some really good points. But it's just a way of kind of changing because that gets thrown into our adulthood too. You know what I mean? And like
Oh,
you can
yeah.
see, and it just, and instead of it, because I'm a big time humanist, which is why it makes it. I differ sometimes with that opinion. You know what I mean? Because it's like I want to see us all to come together as a whole, and there's so many
Right.
things that divide already as it is, and that I feel like sometimes sports do the same thing.
Yeah,
Sometimes,
they
you know,
do. Yeah.
and it's like not
But
always, just sometimes.
now, something that I think that a child has to experience is okay. So the first year I played, I think it might have been your first year, maybe your second year.
Yeah.
It was when we were in third grade. We went undefeated. We went undefeated in
Yeah.
football, and we won every single game. And I remember the second year going in, and we're still talking about football, and we have Xander here,
Yeah,
the
we're just
future
up and
football
around
star.
for a
Okay.
second.
I'm
That's
kidding. I'm
about
kidding.
that's about being the dad, man, the early fatherhood stuff you got to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
So what I was saying was that second year, and we lost our first game, and I just remember being like that. It felt terrible, but
Yeah.
and my dad told me he's like, look, you're not going to win every time. You're
Yeah.
Yeah.
not always going to be going to play in an NFL stadium when you're in third grade. Like, that just doesn't always happen. So you have to have that reality kind of check.
Yeah.
Hey,
It's
you're going to
humbling,
win or
right?
lose. You know,
So
what's that?
one
It's humbling to know
It,
one
that
it
like
really is.
that
And
losing is
I
part of it.
sat there and I remember just sitting there like, holy crap, this is, and I cried. I
Yeah.
remember
yeah.
crying in the car. I was like, this is terrible. This is a horrible feeling. And my
Yeah.
dad was just like, hey, suck it up. This is real life, And I was
Yeah.
like, well, I guess that's the way it is. That's the way the door opens.
And that's the way the door opens.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, that's good, man. Like, it's going into a sport and having that kind of competition as a kid teaches you a lot of different emotions and a lot of different coping mechanisms, and it's really easy to quit and kind of like give up. But if you have enough willpower, you can.
This goes to one of those facets they were talking about, though. Is it necessary, like, to learn all those different things, though? I feel like a child can go into a spelling bee and get the same effect emotionally that you would learn from losing a football game if you lost the spelling bee. You know what I mean? Like, and team building, I feel like I've learned a lot more in team building, not from sports, but from having to do art projects with a group of people and having to come together to build some type of project and having to have everybody's differing opinions to be able to work together. I feel like I built. Well, call it what it is. I feel like I learned a lot more team building from that than I did from sports. I felt like in sports it was still, even though it was a team, it still felt like in league actually. For example, it's a team game, still feels like there's a lot of individuals trying to just I, and there is no I in team. We all hear this all the time, but it's like they're really driving on just the individual themselves, not really about the team, not the team as a whole. Like how many touchdowns did I score? How many? And we even say it sometimes like, oh, I haven't gotten a kill yet. I want to kill. It's like a scoreboard thing. You know what I mean? Like a kid on the. We played with some of these individuals too back in the day with Pal, and you know this, Ian, that were just did I score a touchdown? Did I get the ball? How much did I get the ball? Like they didn't care anything
that's
about
not the point. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. That cooperation instead of the competition. You know what I mean? Or it's like there's stuff there that maybe it's just not being delivered the right way. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like I learned more as these team buildings, some of this stuff that there's a lot of individuals that say that it can only come from team sports, but I feel like I learned a lot of these different qualities from other walks of life that weren't sports related. I
mean, hell, I think the first time I scored a touchdown, it was like season 5 or something like that for me. I mean, I was a lineman for a long time, and then I finally got to be a fullback, which was kind of cool. But having those, I think it's important to have a kid in some kind of. Be it a sport or not, like if they're on the debate team, who cares? They need to have that interaction with other people, and they have to have some sort of competition only because it kind of prepares you for the real world. Because if a kid sits there and goes, oh, hey, no matter what, I'm going to be okay. Out in the real world, quite honestly, that just doesn't happen. You're not always just going to be handed things. You're not just going to always, oh, hey, you did a great job. You did a good effort. Here's a promotion. That's just doesn't happen.
You had a great job.
Yeah, you had a great job.